Like a zombie emerging from a graveyard, Capcom's classic Ghosts and Goblins series has come back to life and shuffled its way onto the Nintendo Switch in the form of Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection. But this storybook-styled semi-sequel is anything but brain dead, reimagining and remixing the best elements of the 80s Ghosts and Goblins and Ghouls and Ghosts, and offering a raft of flexible difficulty options to make it far and away the most approachable entry in the action platformer series to date. Of course, that doesn't mean it isn't still as hard as Coffin Nails if you want it to be. Every character in Resurrection has been hand-drawn and brought to life with the quirky movements of murderous shadow puppets, and staged inside striking reinterpretations of classic series levels like the Graveyard and the Crystal Forest. To be honest, I still viewed the bulk of its beauty through a red mist, because despite its fairy tale appearance, Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection is anything but child's play. Hordes of demonic enemies continuously respawn in each area to keep you perpetually under attack, which can be agonizing to endure but exhilarating to overcome. It's also constantly messing with you. You can never be sure if the hidden treasure chest you discovered houses a power-boosting suit of gold-plated armor, or a magician waiting to transmogrify you into an aggravatingly defenseless frog. Meanwhile, there's very little story to dig into during Arthur's quest to rescue his damsel in distress, which does seem like a missed opportunity to reboot the lore into something that matches the art style's charm. Instead, the only words uttered between Once Upon a Time and Happily Ever After was the roughly 5-hour-long string of profanities supplied by me as I battled my way to Resurrection's climax. You f***ing little shit. 5 hours isn't exactly an epic length, but each of Resurrection's 7 levels introduces a series of unique gameplay twists that prevents the action from ever becoming stale and kept me from ever relaxing into a rhythm. Plus, its playtime is effectively doubled by the fact that after you complete Resurrection the first time around, you gain access to shadow versions of each stage, which rearrange enemy types and add environmental effects to make platforming even more fraught with danger. There are 8 different weapons for Arthur to get his hands on, the bulk of which have their own clear strengths and weaknesses, and some weapons are also better suited to certain environments than others. Initially, you can only pick up one weapon at a time, which means that yes, for significant stretches of Resurrection, you'll likely find yourself saddled with that perennially useless bastard of a flaming torch. However, by collecting umbral bees hidden in each stage, you can upgrade Arthur with skills and magical abilities. And early on I made an umbral bee line for the kitted out enhancement that enabled me to carry more than one weapon at a time. Carrying a small arsenal made me better equipped to counter the varying attack patterns of each boss fight, which made my eventual victories feel like they were earned through my strategic smarts rather than just blind luck. Arthur's expanding loadout of magic powers regularly saved my bacon, or indeed, saved me from bacon, when the going got tough. Yet given the option, I'd probably trade almost all of these special attacks for the ability to double jump or fire all weapons on a diagonal axis, because even with these extra upgrades, Arthur is still as stiff as rigor mortis as far as his fixed arc jumping and 4-way shooting is concerned. I realise that Arthur's rigid moveset is by design and true to the arcade originals, but there were times when I couldn't be completely sure if Resurrection's unwavering adherence to Arthur's long-established limitations was scratching a nostalgic itch or gleefully picking at old wounds. Arthur's movements may be as stubborn as ever, but Resurrection's difficulty options are surprisingly flexible. I opted to play through on the second hardest setting, Night, and although I didn't regret it, it did make me sweat. Fortunately, while you can't permanently reduce the overall difficulty once your quest has begun, Resurrection still offers you a small amount of mercy if and when you need it. Die a few too many times within one checkpointed area, and you'll be asked if you want to drop the difficulty down for the remainder of that level. If Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection can be considered as a form of side-scrolling sadomasochism, then these optional mid-level difficulty drops serve as its safe word. The 2 lower difficulty settings are even more accommodating. Squire allows Arthur to withstand more hits before he collapses into a pile of bones, and even lets you slow enemy movements to half speed if you're still struggling to avoid their attacks. Meanwhile, Page grants you the ability to respawn on the spot with unlimited lives, rather than boot your armored ass back to a checkpoint. And before you Die Hard fans protest, there's still the extremely punishing Legend mode, if you prefer to play Resurrection with your teeth gritted and the well-being of your controller under constant threat, you absolute maniacs. Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection is an old-school action platformer that's not too cruel to compromise, allowing you to fine-tune its challenge level relative to your individual skill and tolerance for pain. Its 7-level story mode may be slightly short, but it packs in plenty of variety and unique challenges to navigate, and bolsters its replay value with the addition of the alternate shadow levels that unlock after your first playthrough. If Capcom had added further flexibility to Arthur's movements and attacks, and maybe had a bit more fun with the story, this would have been a truly sensational second coming. But regardless, Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection is still a supremely spirited comeback. For more game reviews, check out our verdicts on Valheim Early Access and Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. And for everything else, stick with IGN.